I'm Beth Errington. I'm a consultant with SAC Consulting based in the Ayr office, and today we are looking at how to select lambs for slaughter or for sale. When we're selecting lambs, we're really wanting to maximise the return we're getting on each lamb, so selecting them at the right point, not going over any carcass weight limits and not going under or over the ideal fat class helps us get the better return on those lambs. So the first thing to do when you're selecting lambs is to weigh them. So we're looking for lambs to be in a live weight range between 42 kilos and 48 kilos, and then looking for this to be a dead weight of between 16 and 21 kilos dead weight. Which dead weight you're looking for depends on where they're going after the market or after the slaughterhouse. So the supermarket tend to want a consistent product at the end, so they'll be looking for the mid-range of carcass weights. Butchers would tend to go a little bit heavier, and if you're going for export, it tends to be a bit lighter. So after we've got lambs in the target live weight range, we want to get a hand on them to be looking at their conformation and their fat class, and this is through something called the Europe grid, which is where the conformation is graded between E and P, so E, U, R, O, P, where E is your most shapy carcass and P is the least shapy. And then the fat classes are based on numbers 1 to 5, where 1 is lean, 5 is over fat, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 3L for low, 3H, 4L, 4H, and then 5. And the pricing at the abattoir is based on this grid, where the base price is based on your R3L, and then anything that's too fat or too lean is below base price. Your more shapier carcasses, the E's and the U's, they'll have base price plus an extra 5 pence or so. So when we're handling lambs, we are feeling along the back and feeling the spinous processes and the transverse process. So the spinous processes are the bones along the top of the back, and the transverse processes are the ones along the side of the spine. For the conformation, the kind of contact handling points are the shoulder and the loin, and what you're feeling for is the muscle development between the spinous process and the transverse process. So the more shapy carcasses will have a more convex feeling between those two bones, and then as you go through the conformation grades, they get less convex and become concave. The fat classes, the contact points, there's 3 of these, are the loin, the rib, and the tail head, and what we're feeling for is the fat cover over the muscle development. So on the loin, we're feeling for fat on the transverse processes, and this kind of goes between being able to feel them really easily to not being able to feel them even with quite a lot of pressure. The rib, again, the same. We're just feeling for the fat cover over the ribs, and as we move up the classifications, we feel those less and less. And in the tail head, it's about feeling the individual bones, and you can feel them quite easily in the lower fat classes, and as we move up through them, you feel them less and less. The factors that can affect the killing out percentage of the lambs, the main one being belly fill. So if you weigh the lambs when they're full of grass and then send them off and they're killed and that stomach comes out, there's a big difference between the weight. Whereas if you're weighing your lambs empty, it's less of a change in weight when you're killing out. There's a few other things that can affect killing out percentage as well. So that's whether it's a male or female lamb, if it's a wether or if it's entire, if they have horns, if they're docked or not, how wet the lambs were when they were weighed, if they were dirty, that'll also add weight, and when they were weaned, this can affect the killing out percentage of the lambs. So the differences between selling live weight through the market and dead weight through the abattoir are that with the abattoir you're paid based on the Europe grids, and you're also getting feedback from the abattoir, so they will tell you if there's anything in them such as liver fluke or anything like that. And you're getting a feedback of each individual lamb's carcass weight and their grade, and then you're paid on that. This gives you something to work with going forwards. It can help you make decisions on how you're selecting your lambs. If you're finding that you're getting a few that are in below the base price, you can change how you're selecting your lambs. One thing to keep in mind with abattoirs is that they will often have a cut-off point for carcass weight, by which over that carcass weight you won't get paid any further. When you're selling through the live ring, it's based on weight again, but it's on their live weight, and there'll be multiple different buyers buying for different outlets. So they'll be buying for supermarkets, they'll be buying for butchers, there'll be independents there as well. And they're, depending on who they're buying for, they'll be looking for different things. Ultimately, some of them will end up in an abattoir, so they're still thinking of this Europe grid, but maybe your butchers aren't necessarily worrying too much about that in terms of carcass weights, and are maybe looking for a fleshier, bigger carcass that they're going to get more cuts out of in the shop, and maybe slightly more flat cover just to protect the meat in the chiller. So pricing through the market is slightly different. It's based on live weight, but also that there's no set base price per kilo or anything. Each batch of lambs that come in will get handled by the buyers, and they'll bid up to a certain pence per kilo based on whether they really want those lambs. So it's a lot more variable between lambs, whereas through the abattoir, base price is set, and whatever they're classified as, the price is based off that. So today we've been talking about selecting lambs for slaughter. For more information on this, please see the associated fact sheet on fas.scot.